back with an episode of Shiny's Lab. So I know I'm kind of late with this. So I'm about to review I'm about to review American Horror Story, season 9, episode 3 slash dance. So of course, I watch episodes every night while they air, but I get off so late. I get up at 10:30 at night. So, I go on break around. I always go on break at 10, especially on Wednesdays, so that I could watch the episode, in the locker room, because, I got the cable app on my phone, so I could watch the episode, while they air. So I usually do my review the day after, but I've been so tired this week. It's been a long week. Work has been busy, so I haven't been able to do the update. So I know I'm 2 days late with this review, but hey, we're gonna get into this review. Now, normally I'll be asleep because I don't go home till around like 12 o'clock at night because I get up so late. I do my train ride, my regional road ride is like a whole hour. So I'll be asleep by now because I gotta get up at 11. But since I can't sleep, I decided to put some clothes on and get to this review since I'm already up. All right, so without further ado, let's get into it. So, the last episode we left off with the Night Stalker trying to break into the cabin, where Ray, Rita, and Brooke are, and then you have Xavier, uh, you have Xavier. I keep forgetting the guy that's supposedly have the huge schlong. Keep forgetting his name, so he's just gonna be question mark for this review. So if I keep saying question mark, you know who I'm talking about. The guy that's supposed to have the huge schlong. He played on Glee, but I just can't remember his character's name for right now. Maybe not call him question mark. I'm gonna call him mustache because he got the '80s mustache going. So mustache, Montana, and X, are in the other cabinet, and they think Jingles is trying to break in. So Chatham Ray, I mean, Ray is freaking out. He like, yo, what the fuck, it's like, he like Darwinism, every man for himself, blah, 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 blah. Now, everybody keeps saying that, Ray is weak, and he's getting on everybody's nerves. But my thing is, one, this is how black people react to some crazy shit. You have two psycho killers on the loose, and everybody's trying to, save this person and save that person, to do this and do that. And Ray was like, we need to get the fuck out of here. Now it was kind of fucked up for him to say every man for himself. He's like, he can only get one, so three of us can run it. He's like, I can run faster than two of you motherfuckers. So Ray is freaking out. So then the Night Stalker finally gets into the cabin, and he starts slicing up, Ray, because he was the first person that tried to run out. So he's slicing up Ray in his arms. And the thing I don't understand about the Night Stalker is he's supposed to be, the Night Stalker. He's supposed to be some sort of professional killer. So why didn't he just slash Ray in the throat, or stab him in the heart like or something? I mean, it sounds vicious, but I mean, he's sitting there slashing his arms, and Ray just like So Nurse Rita, she like, well, like he said, every man for himself. So Rita, Chet, and Brooke, they like, fuck that, we out. You the one who started this every man for himself shit, so we just gonna leave you. But Chet felt bad because that's his workout buddy. You could tell that Chet and Ray have a little closeness. So Chet goes back and save Ray. So then we switch over to the cabin with Montana, Mustache, and Xavier. And them thinking that it's Jingles. Somebody throws somebody dressed up as Jingles throws flaming shit, a bag of flaming shit into the cabin, and Mustache is stomping it out, and then he's like, "Oh shit is shit." Montana's about to throw up, and I'm just like, that is definitely some '80s shit. Like my mom told me that actually used to be a thing. She was like, this is when games like Ding Dong Dipsy, and all that kind of shit started. Putting shit on somebody's step, setting on the fire, or just simply wrapping it up like it's mail and having somebody open up shit. I don't know where that started, but my mom, I definitely talked to my mom about her. My mom was born in '76, so she was a kid in the '80s. So she was like, I think in '84 she might have been like 8 or 9, and my dad was probably like 7. So my mom is like, that definitely used to be a thing. So we find out that it's not even Jingles that's trying to bring it to the cabin, where it's Xavier, Mustache, and Montana is actually two dudes who every year, ever since the massacre happened at Camp Redwood, excuse me, excuse me. Oh my God. I'm sorry, y'all. I've also been sick, so that's why I haven't been updating in a while. I'm finally starting to get better. But anyway, they found out it's two dickheads, who pull pranks on people, and they decided, that they were going to dress up as Mr. Jingles with real masks and everything. Look, it's just like Jingles. They got on the costumes, and I guess they had the fake knife. So Mustache, Xavier, and Montana run out, and they like, what the fuck, you assholes? And I'm like, that's definitely right. I'm like, personally, I believe they should have just died right then and there. Like, if I was one of them, I would have threw a brick at one of their heads. Like, you fucking dickheads. Like, first of all, it's not funny to make fun of a massacre. And why are y'all out here dressed, as Mr. Jingles, and I'm like, how did they even know people were there? How do you know the camp is even open? I'm like, on the anniversary of the massacre, do people just lurk around the camp? Like, I'm confused. I'm like, if the camp has been closed for 15 years, like, and the guy's like, oh, it's a prank. We do this every year. I'm like, okay, but the camp has been closed, so who the hell have y'all been pranking? How did y'all even know they were there? So maybe we'll find out more about those, friends later. It was two of them that was outside of the cabin with Xavier, Montana, and Mustache. But there was another one who, you could tell he was obviously like maybe a little slow or something like that. But we'll get to him later. So, so we get back to Chet and Ray. Chet and Ray fall into a pit. It's for some reason it's like this pit in the camp. Where it got like all these like pointy sticks. So Che and Ray fall into it, and then Chet gets stabbed like through the stomach. I believe it was his stomach or his chest. I'm not really sure, but it definitely felt like it was his stomach. So he was stabbed through the stomach, and they stuck in the hole, and they like, what the fuck? So at this point, I am proud of Ray. Like he tried to save him, but he was like, bro, if I pull this out, I don't want to kill you. And I'm like, I understand that because honestly, this is the '80s, And Ray, he works for the hospital, but he's an orderly, so he wipes up drool and clean up patients, people who are in comas and stuff. So he don't know much about, if I pull this out, like he didn't want to kill him, which we'll get back to him not wanting to kill him in a minute. So then we go back to Nurse Rita and Brooke, and Nurse Rita and Brooke are like, they're just waiting for everybody to get, because the plan was for everybody to meet, where the cars and the bike stuff was, so they can get the fuck out of there, so they won't get killed. So Brooke is like, where are they? They're taking long, we should go. And Nurse Rita was like, your friends wouldn't abandon you like that. And Brooke is looking like, I thought she was gonna say they're not really my friends, because honestly, Brooke did just meet them, So, but Nurse Rita's like, well, you know what, I'll wait, you go, and call for help, and I'll wait here, for the others. So, as Brooke thinking she's about to mosey her ass into the car, Nurse Rita stabs her right in the fucking throat, and I was like, damn. I'm like, and you know what? I knew it was something kind of off about Nurse Rita, but I didn't want to believe it because it was just like, I feel like when they make things obvious with American Horror Story, you always got to question it because like the obvious person is never really the person. It's always somebody you least expect it. Um, so she stabbed Brooks in the neck with the tranquilizer, and then it goes on commercial. So then when it comes back, it gets into Nurse Rita's backstory. So we found out that Nurse Rita, I got my notes here on my other phone. So we found out that Nurse Rita is actually Donna Chambers. So she's not even the real Nurse Rita. She is studying for a PhD in interviewing killers. She visits the psychiatrist Hoffel, who got killed in the last episode, who was trying to warn the nurse Hoffel. Excuse me, yo. Nurse Hoffel, who was trying to warn Margaret to close down the camp because Jingles escaped. Rita had visited her prior before, you know, and she convinces her to let her talk to Jingles because Nurse Rita has gotten she's gotten confessions from previous killers, and she's looking at Hoffel like you've been spending your whole life studying Jingles, don't you want to know why he clicks? Do you really want to leave this earth without knowing why he clicks? And I'm like, it's even more creepier, not all of us say that, but it's creepy that you had people who snap to the point where they become psychotic and start murdering, a bunch of people. Like it's different, when you have to kill someone because it's a life or death situation. Like if someone pulls a gun on you, you have the opportunity to kill them first, definitely take aim. Or, if you know that someone's trying to kill you, you're not going to lose your life, for that person. So, I would say as humans, the funny thing about Nurse Rita wanting to study, what makes people snap is like everyone is capable of killing, regardless if you think so or not. If your life is put into such a a threatening situation, you're going to strike back. Just think about animals. You know how when you learn early in school, to not corner any type of animal, like whether it be a house pet, whether it be a wild animal, like you don't corner animals because when you corner an animal, the animal instincts kick in, animal instincts kick in, and they go in defense mode. It's me against you, buddy. And that's the same for humans. Well, I mean, you had people, and I'm from the city, from Philly, from the city. So, We call people who don't, take heed, or who don't stand up for themselves, or who don't switch into that mode. We usually call them punks or chumps, but there's just certain people who, they don't believe in fighting, they don't want to fight, they don't know how to fight, they haven't been taught, or their parents, have taught them, not to fight. But anybody usually, for the typical human being, whether, no matter what your race, ethnicity, background is ever, when you're put into a threatening situation, you're going to snap and you will kill if you had to be killed. So that's why I'm kind of looking at Margaret. I'm like, at first it was kind of built up that Margaret might be the killer, but I'm thinking, well, maybe, Margaret might have killed a few people, but she might have been backed into that. Like, you could definitely tell they got a lot of their inspiration from the movie Sleepaway Camp, which came out in the 80s as well. And I noticed a lot of people haven't really been talking about Sleepaway Camp because they've been so focused on like the Halloween, the Friday the 13th references. People had to remember, Sleepaway Camp is a classic. It also has a cult following and is just as big as those movies. It's just, for some reason it's not as talked about. But then I can't say that because there are YouTubers who have videos about, Sleepaway Camp on their channel. So, if you've never seen Sleepaway Camp, make sure you check it out. I don't want to give away the spoilers, but I think, Margaret might have like an Angela type thing, where she's a good natured person, she doesn't like sex, alcohol, drugs, she doesn't want people to dive into the activity, especially counselors and kids, and she might have, been teased or tormented by counselors and stuff, and that might have made her, either assist Jingles killing people, or she might have killed some people, and Jingles might have killed some people, and she just blames it on Jingles. Either way, it's something about her. So back to Nurse Rita. So, well, not even Nurse Rita, fake Nurse Rita. So her real name is Donna Chambers, like I said. So she believes that the Southeast War, because remember this is the 80s, the Southeast War in porn, has ruined the minds of men. And, Mr. Jingles is like, well, really, I believe it's high fructose corn syrup, it's not natural, and I'm just like, that's interesting. So I'm like, the crazy thing about Mr. Jingles is he doesn't seem that violent. He doesn't remember killing the kids. And it's like, the only reason why he killed the guard is because that's how he, had to get out. But then again, he also did kill Nurse Hoffel. He also is stalking the campers, and he also did try to kill. He also did kill some more people, but it's like we find out why. So Donna wants to get rid of all killers, because for whatever reason, Mr. Jingles asked her like, well, why do you want to, get rid of all, psycho killers? Like, what led you to, pursue this in life? And Donna is like, I had my reasons. So I'm like, maybe one of her family members, or something like that, went to Camp Redwood when these massacres happened. Or maybe her family member was killed by a psycho killer, or someone who went around killing people. Either way, there's definitely a reason that we haven't found out yet, which we probably find out later in the season. Excuse me again. Why Donna want to get rid of all psycho killers? So, she's talking to Jingles, and they're inside, the asylum, and, she pushes pause, I'm sorry, getting over a cold as a bitch, I'm sorry. So, she turns off, the record player because when she first came in, the guy who assisted her, he was like, we need a record of everything that you guys are talking about. So, and I'm like, why didn't somebody stand there with her? I'm like, they said that they would have Jingles restraint, but I'm just like, why would you have a a woman in a room with a psycho killer by herself with just a recorder? Like, that's crazy. But anyway, um, so Donna is like, I want to study you in your natural habitat. And Jingles is like, I want to help. So she's like, she's showing him the picture of Camp Redwood, and she shows him Margaret. And, he's like, I can't even look at that. Like, I just want to kill her. So I'm like, I don't know what his hostility is on Margaret. Like, is it because she's a lone survivor and she had him admitted to the, asylum? Or is it because she actually committed the killings? He knows it. She framed it on him, and that's why he wants to kill Margaret. Like, it's like this season is so goddamn good. Like I freaking love the writing. Like Ryan Murphy and Brad Falchuk are fucking geniuses. Because the writing is always good. Because it's like it always has you questioning and guessing. Like of course we have our suspicions and our theories, but we never really know until each episode unfolds. Because like even in this episode, we find out it's a lot of twists and turns. So Donna informs him, about the camp reopening. And tells him the plan about killing the guard. Like remember in the second episode where we saw I mean, the first episode when we saw how Jingles escaped the asylum. So Donna is the one who told them about this plan. So she's like, you got to kill the guard, you got to push the release button on the cages, and then when you get to the back, she had a coat ready for him, and his knife and everything. And then I guess she gave him a car, or whatever, so that he can get to the camp. But she's like, I'm going to be at the camp with a new name. So then we, switch to another scene, where you have this white girl driving, listening to her 80s music, smoking her cigarette, and she noticed somebody behind her, and then, she gets to a gas station, so she stops and she gets out the car and she's like, can I help you? And, Donna is like, excuse me. And she's like, you've been following, the white girl's like, the real nurse reader, she's like, you've been following me since, like, for a while. And, Donna's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm headed to Camp Redwood and these are the directions, that I was given. She's playing it off. And then, the real nurse reader is like, like you feel stupid when you think somebody's following you, but then you talking to him and it's, she's like, oh shit, she's an employee too, she's just going to Camp Redwood and I'm thinking she following me. So the girl is, talking to her and nurse reader is like, I think it's pornography, and the objectification of women that causes psycho killers. Because the real nurse reader is like, I had to find out why you follow me because a woman always ends up dead on the side of the road when someone's following her. And Donna is like, Ma, do you have a dark imagination? And then she gives this like creepy laugh, and I'm like. Now, the person who's playing, fake Nurse Rita slash Donna Chambers, apparently, because I've been reading comments from other videos, she's from the show called Pose. I don't watch whatever Pose is. I know it's supposed to be based off like, LGBT or whatever, so, not gonna say, that, I'm glad they have an outlet for the show, but it's not something that, I would watch because, not, particular interest of mine. But anyway, back to, Donna. So, the girl, after talking to, Donna, she's like, maybe we can, hitch together, and I'm like, well, why would y'all hitch together? I'm like, wouldn't, Donna had to leave her car. So, the girl goes to the bathroom, and I was assuming that, Nurse Rita was going to kill her. I mean, Donna, fake Nurse Rita, Donna was going to kill the real Nurse Rita inside of, the bathroom. But, she comes out and then she noticed that, Donna's car is going. So she probably in her head, like, well, maybe I was taking too long, Maybe she just, went on the hit. I guess I'll see it is. So she's in her car, she's driving again. And then, we see Donna, pop up in the lift up in the back seat. And I'm like, oh shit. So then, we switch back to Ray and Chet, who, are in this ditch. And I'm like, where did this ditch come from? I'm like, did Mr. Jingles build this 15 years ago? Did Margaret build this ditch to catch, Mr. Jingles? Another thing about Margaret is that she was missing this entire episode. You got the Night Stalker walking around trying to find Brooke the Killer. You got, Mr. Jingles, walking around killing people. You got, all these screamings and crashes and shit. And I'm just like, where the fuck is Margaret? So I'm like, it's something really off about Margaret. But then again, I'm like, I'm not too sure. Like, I'm strongly believing that she's going to be kind of like an Angela Baker from Sleepaway Camp. But then she very well could be an assistant to Jingles, or she could very well just have opened the camp simply to get Mr. Jingles to come back, so she can kill him. But then I'm like, how would she know that Mr. Jingles is going to get out? So I'm like, whatever it is about Margaret, I had to give props to Leslie, Leslie Grossman because, she's playing a really good character. And Leslie Grossman joined the cast of, AHS, season 7 with Colt, and I did like her character, and then she was in season 8 where she was Coco, the rich girl slash witch. And I'm like, I really enjoyed Leslie Grossman. I'm glad they added her to the cast. I feel like, and then she finally has the main role in this season. I feel like she's doing it really well. Like, her first two characters, were kind of, for comedic relief. But this time, Margaret is like a real serious, churchy girl, and blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, Leslie Grossman was really selling as well. And while we added, I really want to give props to Emma Robert as well because, um, playing the nice girl, is something new for her. Well, for American Horror Story is because she played, a bitch in Scream Queen. She always played some sort of bitchy character in American Horror Story. So, it's nice to see Emma Roberts play, like the version, kind of like a find a girl kind of trope. A lot of people are saying they're not used to Emma playing that. So, and I'm just like, when did y'all become fans of Emma Roberts? Like, first of all, I've always been a fan of Emma Roberts since she was on, I think it was called like Fabulous or something. It was a show she had where the girl, she played guitar. Like I can't really remember the gist of it all, but I do remember she played a cool, she was a regular girl. And then Scream 4, which is very criminally unrated. If you've never checked out Scream 4, make sure you check it out. It was written and directed. I mean directed by Wes Craven, of course. And the OGs return like Courtney Cox and Nat Campbell with her beautiful, great acting stuff. So, I feel like Scream 4 was very underrated, and Emma Roberts played, a nice girl, but then the twist was, well, I'm not gonna give it a twist because I don't know if people have ever seen Scream 4, but Emma Roberts played the nice girl, but then her character kind of twisted. That's all I'll give you, you know, kind of towards the end of the movie. So it's like, if you, then I'm like, Emma has done a lot of movies and different things. So I'm like, I guess a lot of people haven't really didn't become a fan of Emma until she got on American Horror Story and then Scream Queens, but I'm surprised that people didn't know that Emma Roberts was a versatile actress. I'm like, and then I'm like, because I'm like, you've never. The best thing I like about American Horror Story, is the writing and the actors and actresses. Like Ryan Murphy, you could tell he does not work with people who can't really act. Like he always pushes the button. I got off topic. I'm sorry. So we get back to Ray and Chet, and Ray thinking that Chet is passed out, from the pain. He confesses, to why he even came to the camp, what's going on in his life. So we find out that last year he was a junior in college. He was in a fraternity, and he was trying to help a Chinese pledge. Sorry, oh, I'm getting sick as a bitch. I'm gonna drink some water. But yeah, so Chet, Ray, he was trying to help a Chinese pledge, he had got too drunk, but he didn't want to let his, fraternity brothers down. And I'm going to pause for a second, on Ray's backstory, So I don't understand, so because Ray is talking to the guy, and he's like, you and I, because the guy's Chinese and he's black, so he's like, you and I got to work harder, to be accepted. And I'm just like, I don't like black people who do that. Like I don't, Sorry to toot my horn, but my grandfather, came from the South with, very little education, not be, not due, to his own doings, but very, little education, but he was skilled his hands. He learned from his father, his brothers, and our family, we're very, crafty, craftsmen. So, and we do have a family history book, so who our, ancestors are, Will Herbert, who was born in 15 cents. So I can definitely guess that Will Herbert, he was a slave. He was owned by the Herbert family, So I can definitely tell that he most likely built their homes and built, like he was, skilled in the hand because a lot of the men in our family have that skill, like my uncle, all of my grandfather's children, like I took a woodshop class and realized that I'm good with my hands. So I feel like if you're a man in a Huber family, you might not know it, but if you practice, or you can, if you just try, you'll figure out that that you're good with your hands. So I'm like, he came up here, he started his own business, El Huber Construction, which became very successful, in the early and late 50s, going up until he was very successful. Actually, my grandfather was very successful up until I would say the mid 2000s because then he had got old. Like he lived to be 86 years old. No, actually, I'm sorry. He lived to be. I'm sorry. This is wild. I believe he definitely lived to be either 89 or 84. I'm kind of rocky on that. I don't even want to think about that because him dying was definitely a good loss to the my family. But he didn't go, to a white-owned company, begging for jobs. He didn't go, to white people trying to fit in, or changing, his country, appeal. Because they're from the elders in our family are from Alabama. He came up here. He used the skills that he learned from his father, his brothers, and of course, our cousins, in the South, and he built his homes. He renovated his own homes. He became a homeowner. And he had his own construction. So I'm like there were black schools, you know, um, there's always been black schools ever since, the late 1800s. So I'm like, he could have went to Morehouse. He could, like I went to Morehouse. So I'm just like, Ray, instead of you going to a college where you don't have to worry about being accepted, you don't have to worry about changing yourself, where you could just be your authentic, black American self, you go to a white school where you tell the Chinese guy you have to work twice as hard just to fit in here. And the Chinese guy's like, that's fucked up. And I'm like, yeah, that's fucked up. That's not kind of, but that's been the black American story since the beginning. They stole our ancestors, brought them over here, we worked our asses off, we blood, sweat, and tears, generation to generation, had our children sold, or women raped, or men bug break, I don't even want to get too deep in that, but just the hells of slavery, and then we went through, the Reconstruction era and Jim Crow, and it's like, Black Americans have been fighting that strong fight, for years. And if it wasn't for people, who went off and said, you know what, we should create our own, because you got to remember, Reconstruction brought wealth for a lot of, for a lot of the, descendants of the people who were slaves. So, they were able to, build up their own. So I'm just like, we should always continue to do that. I'm like, you should never go off into another cultural school, and try to, fit in. I'm like, even if you do, like as of today, even if you do go to a white school, you go, you get your education, you make sure that you build a good resume so that when you come out of college, you can get, good jobs. But trying to fit into their sororities and stuff like that, and it's like they don't want you. And it's like, it's only because of affirmative action, Ray, from, the civil rights movement, that they even, accepted you and the Chinese guy, because of affirmative action, you cannot have minorities, you can't, discriminate. So you got to at least have, a certain percentage, and they could always get around that. Like they could definitely just do one or two and lie about the stats. But at least, in the 80s, things were kind of changing. You had the 60s, with the civil rights movement, and then you had Woodstock and, the hippies in the 60s and 70s. So you definitely got to give credence to the hippies movement, because if it wasn't for the hippies and people coming together, during that time, our country would not be, what it is right now. I'm sorry, I got off topic with that, but that really pissed me off. When he's like, we gotta work twice as hard, and I'm just like, why don't you take your black ass to a black school? So anyway, the pledge got too drunk, but he didn't want to let his people down, because we all know about hazing. We've seen it in the movies, and if you've been to college, you know that hazing is real. When I went to Morehouse, I was thinking about joining the fraternity until they was telling me about the hazing, and they're like, it's tradition and blah blah blah, and I'm just like, tradition my ass, like I'm cool, like, I'll find my way, to, make connections. I'm not about to be hazed or make a fool out of myself just to belong to some fraternity. I'm like, and then you would think, in this day and age, that fraternities would change, but no, they still want to hate people, and, basically sometimes dehumanize or demasculate men just so they could be a part of some, fraternity. I mean, granted, fraternities do give you more leeway in your life, because if people find out, you're an alpha or a beta or whatever, it's easier, for you to get into certain places. You might have these people working for high, level position companies, and they can pull you in. But it's just like, when you think about it, would you rather, because some of the hazing that I've heard about is out of control. Like, it's actually, inhumane. And the fact that men will do it, just because, it's kind of crazy. And it's just like, why can't it just be about, what you plan to bring to the fraternity? What are your grades? What can you do? What is with the hazing shit? And anyway, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm getting off on tangents, but I'm up, and I was really into this episode, so I'm gonna be talking a lot and definitely going off topic. So the pledge got too drunk or whatever, and Ray, it's like, all right, I'll give you 10 minutes, go rest, do what you got to do, drink some water, whatever you need to do, and I'll come back for you. So then the pledge, he passes out and falls down the steps. So then Ray thinks he died. So I'm just like, have you ever heard of checking the pulse, or just checking his heart rate? Because I'm like, even if the person passed out, they're still going to be breathing, So I guess he didn't do all that. And then I'm just like, I understand why he didn't call the cops, because they're illegally drinking on campus, and their hazing is illegal, even though people still do it, fraternities still do it. So Ray thinks he died, so he calls one of his frat brothers, and the frat brother's like, "Fuck, we're screwed." And Ray was like, "No, we're not." So Ray puts the Chinese boy into his car, and then is going to drive it off the cliff. As soon as he's driving off the cliff, the guy wakes up and is like, "What's going on?" And then Ray is scared, and he's like, oh shit," grab my hand, But it was too late, and the guy grabbed his watch and it ripped off, but the car just fell off the cliff. And I'm like, that's really fucked up. And what I don't understand about American Horror Story is, like, I was kind of rooting for Ray, like, when the season first started, the first two episodes, he was just a regular, kind of black dude, he was working, he had friends, he had the 80s thing going on, I thought he would be just a regular character, the one thing I don't like about Ryan Murphy is that, he'll write, great, good and great characters for, for like women, like Marie Laveau, or, characters he's written for Adina Porter, characters he's, but when it comes to black men, like last season in Apocalypse, the only black male character was, Donnie Stevens' son. He was gay. Not that that's a problem, but he was gay. He didn't really have a big role. He didn't even have powers, which, and we already know that, males can be warlocks. So I'm like, why didn't we, get a little taste of, his warlock power or whatever? He was just gay and crying over his lover the whole time. The season with Cuba Gooding Jr., he played a fuck boy. Like anytime they write for black male characters is always like somebody really geeky, and dating a white woman, they're either gay, or in this case you have Ray who's been written as, a coward, a murderer, and somebody who, would choose to, drive a person off the cliff when they think they die instead of, calling the cops and just suffering consequences. So it's like, why did they make his character so fucked up? Like, I understand this is American Horror Story, and I'm still gonna watch and enjoy the show, but I just don't understand why they had to make Ray's character so fucked up. So anyway, the guy falls off the cliff, and then he dies, and Ray is like, oh shit, so then he just runs away. So this is the reason why Ray, is even in, why he was even, so pumped. Like, remember the first episode when Xavier was like, why are you so pumped to leave? And now we found out why, because Ray is scared. He dropped out of school, and he's scared that the police, because the police had found, the Chinese guy's car, and now he's scared that they're going to see his wife, and he's scared they're going to put two and two together and start investigating, I guess, the fraternity, or come find him and find out what really happened. So, then, the flashback ends, and then Ray's looking at Chet, and he's like, I'm so glad you passed out, but, I needed to get that off my chest. And then Chet was like, I heard you, that's some fucked up shit. And then Ray was like, well, I thought he was dead. And then, Chet is like, yeah, after the first time he killed him, and Ray was like, he got mad. So then, I guess he's thinking, if he, when somebody saves them too, that, he thought Chet would tell him. I'm like, if y'all buddies, and Chet, admitted to taking the steroids, even though I guess it was obvious because he got kicked out the Olympics. So, you couldn't lie about that. If you didn't take the steroids, you wouldn't have got kicked out. So Ray think he's going to tell. So he's like, well, man, fuck you. I'm going to just leave you here. So he just leaves, Chet, for dead. And, and that part, I do think that that's fucked up, because it's like, first of all, when the Night Stalker was slicing your arms and shit the fuck up, Chuck could have left with, fake Nurse Rita and Brooke, but he's like, nah, man, that's my buddy. Even though he acting like a coward, he talking about this every man for himself, man, I'ma save him. So, that was real, it shows what kind of person Chet is, even through adversity or fear, he would still go back and save a person. And I don't understand, like I said, why they had to make the black man so weak. Like, this is the 80s, for Christ's sake. You had the Panthers going on, in the 70s, especially in '84, the Black Panthers was still a thing, You had the My Black is Beautiful generation that was going on, like, man, they ain't had to make his character so whack. So anyway, Montana is, so back at the other scene, Montana is arguing with Mustache and Xavier because Xavier and Mustache are like, well, we got to go back and save, Chef Birdie and Margaret. And I'm like, first of all, we haven't seen Chef Birdie since the first episode. She probably the one who digged the fucking pit. She's probably working, with Jingles, just like we find out, Fig Nurse Rita, aka Donna Chambers, is. And then I'm like, well, Margaret, I'm like, she's been missing the whole episode. I'm like, the fact that she's not checking on these campers, or the fact that she hasn't heard no screams, or the fact that she hasn't popped up is very suspicious. So, Montana's like, yo, want to go back for her and fucking the lunch lady? And they like, no person left behind. And she's like, man. So, Xavier, Mustache and, Montana, they hear Jingles coming again, they hear the keys. So they start running, you know, and they run into a cabin, and they find the real Nurse Rita. So, when we assume in the flashback that, Donna killed, the real Nurse Rita to assume her identity, actually what she did was, she drove her to the camp, tied her up, and then, hit her in the cabin. She had like her mouth taped and, everything. So, Xavier, frees her, and they try to keep her quiet. And Xavier's like, shit. I'm like, don't she hear the keys? I'm like, don't she see them crying, freaking out? And panicking, like, clearly, they're not here to kill you. They're running from someone else. And if they freed you, because they could have just left you there, like, they freed you, and she's, I guess, what I mean? But then again, some black chick followed you and tied you up. Remember, this is the 80s. Some black chick tied you, found you and tied you up, and left you there. You'd be freaking out a little bit. But I'm like, you can hear Jingles, the keys and shit. But I'm like, she might not have known about Jingles. So, Xavier is, trying to warn, like, shh, we're not gonna hurt you. Like, please just be quiet. So instead of her listening to Xavier, even though they fucking freed her, she runs out, trying to escape, and runs into Jingles, and Jingles stabs her right in the head. And I'm just like, damn, poor Nurse Rita. Poor real Nurse Rita. Like, All she was doing was trying to have a simple summer job. She was a pretty little white girl, she looked young. So I'm like, it was fucked up, that the real Nurse Rita ended up dying. So then we go back, to Ray, and he runs into Montana, Xavier, and Mustache, and they're telling him, uh, we found, the real Nurse Rita, Jingles killed her, and Ray is like, well, who the fuck is with Montana? And they're like, I mean, who the fuck is with Brooke? And they like, we don't even know. Like, that's why, we're scared. And Ray lied about, what happened to, him and Chet. He was like, oh, they got separated, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just, listen, that's another thing. I'm like, Ray, Chet saved you from dying. The least you could have do was stay there with him until y'all found help. Like, for him to just leave him there, that was just completely fucked up. Like, I can't even. I mean, it's definitely part of the writing, and I don't think that that has anything to do, with him being a black dude. I just think that that's just fucked up. If somebody saved you from dying, the least you can do, is return that favor. So, now they are arguing about, who should they go save, And, of course, Montana has already told them, like, it's no need to go back and save Morgan and Chef Birdie. Like, fuck that. We need to go. And Ray's on the same tip. He's like, there are two psycho killers. A lot of people was like, Ray getting him in this episode, well, he bitching, da 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 da. And I'm just like, if you know black people in real life, this is how we would fucking react. Like there is no going back to save nobody, so you can run into two, not just one, but two fucking psycho killers, We need to get the fuck out of here. Like I would be on the same tip. Like I don't understand. Like call me what you will, but if I was in this situation, I'm out. I'm not fucking going back and saving nobody and all this other dumb shit. Like I'm not trying to get killed. Like there are two psycho killers. So I understand Ray in that regard. I don't understand why people like, was bitching. Like I would say the only real fucked up, thing that Ray did was, leave Chet when Chet saved him. But I'm like him, wanting to leave and not trying to be Captain Save-A-Ho, is what black people do. We fucking run. You don't look back. You run until you get to safety. White people always want to save people and investigate and, sit there and talk when there's clearly two fucking killers coming to kill people. Like, man, fucking white people. But again, this is classic, 80s slasher films, and this is how these movies go. It's always a bunch of dumb people. So, Mustache gives his keys, to Ray. He's like, well, you know what, fine. We'll go back and save, Chef Birdie, and Margaret. And you ride my bike down to the, the telephone, and call the police so we can get some fucking help out here. So, of course he doesn't really trust Ray, So he's like, Montana, you go with him. So Mustache and Xavier goes off to find Margaret, Chef Birdie, and Ray and Montana pull off on the bike. So then we switch over to Xavier and Mustache. I can't believe I'm still calling his name Mustache. I'm gonna find out what his name is. So next review, I can not call him Mustache. So we Xavier and Mustache find Chet and helps him out of the ditch, and he tells them, like Ray fucking left me here to die, and they're like, that's not what he told us, and Chet is like he's fucking messed up, and I understand Chet saying that he's like he's not right in the head. He's probably like nigga, I saved that black nigga, and he just left me, man. So then, they pull him, Xavier comes down, so he can pull Chet out of the pit, and, Xavier's like, if I kill you, I'm so sorry. And I'm not going to understand that because it's like, boy, I don't know, like, 'cause that thing was deep into, chat. And it's like, if you pull him out, they're going to automatically need to plug up, the holes, so he won't eternally bleed out. Because while the thing was stuck in him, the blood is, being held in by the thing. So Xavier's like, if I kill you, I'm so sorry. Chet is just like, man, just pull this fucking thing out of me. Like, I can't. So they pull the things out, and Chet survives, and, Mustache pulls, Xavier and, out, and then Xavier and Mustache pulls, Chet out of the pit. So then we go back to Ray and Montana, and they run into the Night Stalker. So, they're scared of shit, and Ray is like, man, fuck this. He hops on that bike. Because Montana is just sitting there, looking. So Ray hops on that bike, and he pulls off and leaves Montana. Now, also, that was fucked up, but then again, it's like she was heading saying, like, when they see the Night Stalker, they both should definitely just hop on the bike, like, soon as, Montana heard them keys, or she should have been paying attention to Ray, like, they would have been like, come on, they're fucking just standing there, like, how come, but then again, like, based off 80s, classic films, it's like, instead of, just running directly, people always do dickhead shit, like just stand there looking at the killer. So Ray pulls off, and he's out, and Montana's like, you fucking coward. So Ray is driving off like fuck Camp Redwood. I'm not dying here. He thinking he about to go. And then, before he even get, past the Camp Redwood sign, Jingles chops his fucking head off and that shit go flying back. We have our first main cast kill, and it fucking had to be the black guy, right? So I'm like, not only did they give him a fucked up backstory showing that he's always been, a coward and somebody who would either leave you for dead or, basically try to cover up your murder. I'm just like, why did he have to be so fucked up? Like, come on, Nate. Just can we get one simple black male character that's, something that we can rock with? Like I feel like they may have something against straight black males because again, like I said, in Roanoke, uh Cuba Gooding Jr., played some, goofy ass, he played a goofy, black wanting to be white boy dating and marrying a white girl, And then, in Apocalypse you had Diamond Stevenson who was, gay dating a white lover and it's just like, where are your normal black straight males? Like, man. Well I guess Marie Laveau's lover from Coven, but he ended up being turned into a Minotaur. So you see what I'm saying? Like there's never, a regular character who either, he didn't even make it past third episode. Like damn, but I mean again in classic slasher horror films, the black person is always the first to die, but I just sorry y'all. I'm so sorry about this coughing. I just don't understand why they had to kill off Ray in the third episode. Like, really? Couldn't it have been Mustache? Couldn't they kill Chef Birdie, or shit, somebody that, wasn't main cast? So then, Montana is left with the Night Stalker, and then she's, still acting scared, and he comes out and brings out his knife and he rubs it on her cheek, and then Brooke pushes him, and then they start kissing. I mean, I'm sorry, not Brooke. Then Montana pushes the Night Stalker, and they start kissing, and then she bites his lip, and then she's like, "Why haven't you killed her yet?" And then the episode goes on. So I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa! What's going on, Montana? What do you mean? Why haven't you killed her yet?" So it's clear. It's clear that either since from the kissing, I'm guessing that Montana is in a relationship with the Night Stalker. Maybe they're both Satanists because remember he kept claiming Satan. You remember in Cult, that's where all of the Cult, leaders and founders and the people who were following the Cult in this seventh season, they kept on Satan. And, also in Apocalypse, Michael Langdon was the son of Satan, so I'm just like, the whole Satan thing is running heavy in the season. We also got Ghost, so you have Paranormal Activity. So I'm like, I wonder, where the season's going to go because, usually by the fifth, after the fifth episode, American Horror Story, the storyline usually changes drastically, a lot of twists and turns. But shit, even this episode was a lot of twists and turns. So questions we have like how does Brooke fit into all this? She's just a virgin. Who her husband shot her father. And the groomsmen ruined her wedding. She's attacked by the Night Stalker, who obviously must have been sent by Brooke. So it's just like. I mean, who obviously, I'm sorry, the Night Stalker was obviously sent by Montana since she's like, why haven't you killed her yet? And I'm just like, why does and I'm like it has to be Brooke she's talking about, but again she tried to kiss Brooke like this is why I love American Horror Story because the writing is so incredible, like it just leaves you wondering. I know this review was kind of long. I'm gonna go ahead and take my ass to bed, but I really wanted to get into this. But all I want to say and continuing is that I can't wait for the next episode. I'm still gonna watch even though they killed off Ray, the only black male character. I mean, at least we still got fake fake Nurse Rita, aka Diamond Chambers, she better last, at least about season, till at least about episode 6 or 7. Like, I'm not trying to hear that. We're not about to kill off both black characters, like I'm just really pissed about that. Like, I was rooting for Ray for the episode. I liked his intro, his character seemed cool, and it wasn't until you find out his backstory and then him, them making him such a coward to where you get pissed off. But then I'm like, can you really blame Ray for acting the way he act? Like, if you were in the situation, in real life, wouldn't you be just like Ray? Like, I would be on some every man for himself shit too, especially when you got people who trying to be Captain Save a Hoe and save this person and that person, and people, who just don't understand that somebody just trying to kill us. But anyway, I'm gonna take my ass to bed. This was a good episode. I hope y'all liked it. If you the review, please leave comments. Talk to me. Or y'all watching this season? Do y'all like it? Because when I'm at work in the locker room, people like you be dead ass, especially every Wednesday. They be like, "What do you watch?" And I'm like, "AHS," and they like, "Man, I haven't watched such and such season." Like 2 people said they haven't watched his Murder House, and I'm like, "Damn!" So you miss Coven, you miss Cole, you miss, I'm like, you miss Asylum, you miss some of the best seasons. Murder House is definitely, the goat of the seasons, but like Asylum, Murder House, and Coven are literally the greatest seasons, of AHS. Um, I give Hotel, its props because of the storyline and because of, the whole hotel thing and being based off Bates Motel. I give it that credit. And also, I know a lot of people at the time didn't want to watch because of Lady Gaga, but honestly, she did do a good job and she did win an award. And I'm like, all she was doing was playing, the counter. So I'm like, people should really give, Hotel a chance. It gets a little frustrating at times because there's so many different storylines and plot. But Hotel was really good, so I would put Hotel up there because of the characters. We still had Angela Bassett, you had Lady Gaga, you had Kathy Bates, Naomi Campbell makes an appearance. So Hotel. So I would say Murder House, Asylum, Coven, and Hotel for some of the greatest seasons. So anyway. This is my review of, American Horror Story Season 9, Episode 3 / Dance. Let me know what you think.